Takes two times to do this.
Take your time.
So welcome back to Liberty Plaza. Nice to see you. Nice to still be here in what people are increasingly thinking of as their home. It's going down to the 30s tonight and it's very windy and rainy. But they say heat rises, and you better believe uprisings are incredibly hot. And even still, I've got this hat from an old friend, warm enough to allow us to occupy all winter. It's great to be surrounded by people who have always thought they were alone in their idea, as crazy as it is accurate, of how economics work. It's great to be here and have the realization we're not alone, far from it. The problem with free speech in America is that it's guaranteed as long as nobody knows what they're talking about. You get caught up in silly traps like left and right, Democrat and Republican. Now that we're gaining awareness of our position within the system and what that system really is, our leaders are beginning to spaz out. We'll talk about the airborne atmosphere this Halloween weekend in a moment, but first the charged atmosphere down here on the ground. We're all thinking of Scott Olson in intensive care tonight, having been shot in the head by police at Occupy Oakland, whether by a rubber bullet, a beanbag, or tear gas canister. The fact is, he was shot, and that the people who came to his aid were then hit by a flash grenade. So you're Scott Olson. Jenny, holding the camera tonight, is Scott Olson. We all are. He didn't set out that evening to get shot. He was, like us, intent on expressing his sadness and anger at the inequities of capitalism and intent on mapping out a better method. Let us hope he recovers and that the world does too, and that he and us will be laughing about this in a bright future. A future whose brightness isn't derived from fires coming from flipped-over cars in a riot, but from scintillating ideas and gleaming spirit that propels us all. None of us set out to be heroes, but as conditions deteriorate, the mere act of keeping that flame alive, the mere act of being human, takes ever more strength and incurs ever more risk. We're with you in Oakland, we're with you in the lonely western night, we're with one another, with Scott Olson and also Brad Will, who was killed 5 years ago today on barricades not unlike these, fighting for social justice. We're with all the people whose bravery was nothing more than decency and compassion distilled through arduous necessity. The most powerful weapon in the world is the human heart, and every night the occupation grows more hardy. Brad Will would have loved to have been here tonight, laughing at the rain and wind, and insofar as this movement embodies his spirit, he is here, lending extra spirit to this very human form, and extra warmth with his old hat. Here in New York, the mayor backed down from the plan to evict us from Liberty Plaza. He's decided that winter will clear us out so he doesn't have to. In Oakland, Atlanta, Boston, and elsewhere, the authorities have destroyed the encampments and pre-dawn raids. The increased resistance to the movement, the shift from being ignored to mocked, to verbally denigrated, to physically attacked, means the 1% realizes what we've known all along. We're here, and we're not going away. As we saw in Oakland and are seeing all over the country, the demands on Occupy Wall Street far outnumber the demands by Occupy Wall Street. Because occupiers don't demand, they exist, and they triumph by using their existence to overwrite the host. But unlike an invading army, we don't have to win over hearts and minds because we are the hearts and minds. There's no more need for us to explain the occupation than there is to explain what it is to occupy our own bodies. It's like this. If the boy or girl of your dreams is about to kiss you and you demand an explanation, you're not going to get either an explanation or a kiss. The reason we're in the streets is no less mysterious or urgent. If you need an explanation, you're not paying attention to your own dreams. The demands on us range from the insistence that we issue a manifesto to the suggestion that we just go home. The single demand by the movement is to live uncoerced in the equitable, participatory society we were promised. But our demand is less a demand than it is an intent. With or without the permission of the 1%, the 99 are going to do this. In fact, we already are. The simple reason no proclamations are being rolled out, nor old-school revolutionary communiques released is because the movement is not an emblem of the people's desires. The movement is the people's desire. It doesn't represent a thing, it is the thing. The leaderless, non-hierarchical structure of the movement is the structure of the society we most want. Its ability to continue meeting the demands of the participants, even as the number of protesters and encampments grow, reveals its sustainability. Its non-violent resistance to politicians, oppositional media, police forces, and the corporations that overtly fund all three. The successful resistance to reactionary impositions shows that the movement is necessary. It's also unstoppable. Traditional attempts to disrupt communications and freeze assets have had little toxic effect on the movement and have actually enhanced it. Our economic precariousness as individuals brought us together, so what better way to keep our common plight center stage than limit the financial resources available to the collective? We're committed to avoiding the militaristic corporate hierarchy that has improved the efficacy of other revolutions at the expense of their moral compass. What better way than to have little media coverage which itself tends to build manufactured leaderships from its emphasis on personalities of experts and spokespeople. Corporate media blackouts and distortions have bolstered the already extant, completely distributed viral communication network that gave rise to the uprising in the first place. Even on the ground, laws against electronic amplification like bullhorns have encouraged the development of unique, communal, non-dictatorial consensus building. Nobody can steal the spotlight from within the movement because there is no spotlight to steal. Nobody can discredit, corrupt, or topple the leadership from outside because there is no leadership. No one person represents the occupation, but the occupation's aims and methods exist within the suddenly awakened, blazing consciousness of every member. As my friend Philip said, they're trying to catch us in their nets, but they can't. They can't, because we are the ocean. So what does the sky look like over the ocean this week? Jenny Smith, our very able camera person, is here with all the answers. Let's switch places for a second.
Tomorrow, Friday, we have a high of 50 degrees, a low of 40 degrees, and it's going to be partly cloudy. Saturday is going to be a little trickier with a high of 42, a low of 35, and rain and wet snow. Sunday with a high of 45, a low of 39. It should be fairly sunny, hopefully drying out some of the wet snow. And Monday with a high of 55, a low of 45, and it's going to be partly cloudy. Back to you, Brendan.
Thanks, Jenny. This is a very high-tech operation we have here.
Totally.
So we've weathered another week down here in Liberty Plaza. Nice to see you. Bloomberg doesn't want us to pitch tents in the square, but he can't do a damn thing about keeping our intents from growing every day. So remember to set your clocks back this weekend, as always. And as Stephen Said said at Brad Will's Halloween Memorial 5 years ago, if anyone should ask you, how did this movement start? Tell them, go figure. It started in my heart. That's it for now. Farewell.